All right, guys, the day has finally come. We finally got the trailer for Daredevil Born Again, the series that is going to be dropping on Disney Plus on March 4th. I am very excited about it. If you guys have been hanging around the channel for a while, ever since the days of the Netflix Daredevil series, I've been talking about this series a lot. And ever since we got news that a Daredevil Born Again series was going to happen, some of the main cast members were happening, and all the news that has come, since then, I have been more and more anticipating a trailer, a first look, and we finally got it. And I've already watched the trailer. I'll post it probably at the end of this breakdown that we do for the trailer, if you guys want to take a look at that. But yeah, it is it's awesome. It really is awesome. And it feels like it takes us back to the heyday of the Daredevil Netflix series. There was a lot of anticipation coming into this, a lot of, people being pessimistic that they were going to be able to keep the same quality, knowing that it's Disney. And it feels like from what we saw in the trailer, that very much is alive. So we're going to take a look at this trailer. We're going to break it down frame by frame, as we do with every trailer that I'm really excited about. And, before we get into that, if you do enjoy the content, you want to see more videos just like this, dropping a like is a great free way to do so. Really helps out and supports the channel. And without further ado, let's get into the breakdown. All right, guys, so as we often do, we are going to pause it quite a bit as we go through this trailer, and of course take in every moment that we possibly can. And there may be some things that I miss, some things that you catch on your end that I don't speak about. Let me know in the comments. I'm always looking to get educated if there's something that I miss or a character that I don't know too much about, because there were a few characters that were introduced that we'll get to in a minute that I didn't know too much about. Anyway, we get our first official look at Daredevil in the trailer. Off the jump within 2 seconds. I'm already elated. I'm already excited, super pumped about seeing the Daredevil once again. And it kind of, what I like about this trailer too, in the first 3 seconds, we get a nice transition, really setting the tone for how this is a duality story, highlighting the many layers of Matt Murdock. We get Matt Murdock, the lawyer, and just 2 frames ago, we got Matt Murdock, the Daredevil, the devil of Hell's Kitchen. And so I really like that they set the tone there. Obviously, they're sitting in a diner, and who would Matt Murdock be sitting across from? The one and only Wilson Fisk. And once again, we get to see kind of a duality of this character, which I think is so interesting. These characters sitting, across from each other, because they do kind of have their alter egos in a way. You've got Wilson Fisk, the mayor now, as is revealed to us, and then we get Wilson Fisk, the absolute badass guy you don't want to mess with, and him sitting across from Matt Murdock. It's just a really interesting kind of poignant parallel between the two characters. And I made a video talking about this, that these two characters are very much similar, more similar than they are different, and kind of made that comparison to Batman and the Joker, 2 characters that are kind of like 2 halves of the same whole in a way. And obviously the way that they go about things and the people that they are significantly different, but there are a lot of, if you really pay attention to the characters, there are a lot of areas and ways in which we can make comparisons between Joker and Batman, the same that we can make comparisons between Matt Murdock and Wilson Fisk. Obviously very different characters, one's good, one's evil, but they both kind of tread that line and really are just one half of the same coin in a way, if you will. So we see them sitting across from each other. I really love this shot too, because it highlights the ring here. Obviously we see that Wilson Fisk is married, and I'm assuming he's married to Vanessa. When we heard about this series, we knew that it was going to be not necessarily a remake of the Netflix series, or necessarily a passing of the baton, but it was kind of going to tell a different story in a way. It's almost like I forgot the word that they use, almost like a reimagining of the Netflix series. So again, not picking up from that necessarily, whereas obviously we'll see some elements that obviously pick up from that series, but it's almost like it's its own thing, you know what I mean? So we get a really interesting shot there, and off the jump, it's already setting the tone, because we've seen Matt Murdock and Wilson Fisk sit across from each other at a table. Specifically, we've seen him in a prison. We've seen him multiple times throughout the course of the Netflix series, and those always end up in a pretty epic tussle. And so it's interesting to see them kind of have a civil conversation, and I think that had my mind really reeling about what their relationship was going to be in this series, and whether or not Wilson Fisk is a changed man, Matt Murdock is. Those are some questions we were kind of faced with within the first 20 seconds. And then we get our first look at what I'm assuming to be Hell's Kitchen, or at least something like that. We get our first official look at the trio, the 3 amigos themselves, Foggy Nelson, Karen Page, and of course Matt Murdock. And let me just say, guys, there was a time when we were finding out all this news about Daredevil Born Again where there was a bit of uncertainty as to whether or not these two characters, Foggy and Karen, were going to be making an appearance. And, you know, I remember there were quotes, or there were times where I think Deborah Ann Wool, who plays Karen, was asked if she was going to be returning. And at the time, she hadn't even been approached about the role. And so there was a lot of speculation and apprehension as to whether or not these two characters would be added to this new Daredevil. And to be honest with you, I feel like the show, the heart of the Netflix series, really centered around this relationship, the relationship between Foggy and Matt, the relationship between Matt and Karen and Foggy, all three of them. These two characters were the heart of the show in a way. And I think they really grounded Matt Murdock to his normal life and the life that I think deep down he really wants. You know, they're also characters that really test his morality and really force him to look at himself in the mirror and ask, how far is he willing to go? What lines is he willing to cross? And without them, or if they had recasted these characters, I just don't know if it would have had the same feel. And so I'm really glad that they got these characters in and are kind of continuing to play on that relationship, which I think is really important and a special element to the show. Then once again, we get our kind of a bigger look at Wilson Fisk as the mayor. And you know, what's funny too is we get, if you see here on the left, we get a nice little glimpse at Steve Rogers the musical. For some reason, we just can't seem to escape this damn thing. It's everywhere. We get a nice little quote, a little Happy New Year thing. Obviously, this seems to be Times Square. I would assume so. And I always wonder how they film such a thing. Like if they just film shots and then, you know, green screen over it or what, if this is a shot itself, like a scene, or if they just kind of, I don't know. I'm always interested how they get this stuff. So obviously we get our first like massive glimpse of the influence that Wilson Fisk has. And, you know, this is a man that's always had influence. He's always had, kind of a prolific reputation. And obviously we see him walking into an office, maybe in the, right in the midst of a press conference. Nothing seems to stand out too much to me in these moments, but this is all, again, world building and set building for the relationship, the state of these characters as they're sitting and having a conversation. There's this moment here I wasn't exactly sure. Actually, this very well could be his father. At first, I thought it was Mike Myers. I don't know, just something about the face, but it very well could be. Maybe it could very well be a mural of Wilson Fisk, or it could be a mural of his father. Those are just kind of the ideas, because the way that they transitioned from that into Wilson's face made me think that there was some sort of emotional connection there between what we saw in the mural and Wilson. Maybe he thinks he's thinking of his father. I don't know, just a speculation, just a guess. I could be wrong. Moving on from there, we get a brief shot of his kind of brutality. Then we go on to see them once again having a conversation, talking about why he's not a vigilante anymore. Why did he stop living that life, because the secret's out. They know who each other are. There's no things there. He talks about a line being crossed, and that leaves a lot of questions. What lines were crossed? Now, obviously, I think the one that comes up to us, the one that comes to me in my mind, is the fact that he potentially killed someone. Maybe he took it too far, and as a result, someone died. And that's when he made the decision that he obviously, if he can't control himself and and stop himself from treading on that side of things, that darkness, then he doesn't maybe deserve to be a hero anymore, doesn't deserve to be a vigilante. I'm not sure, but obviously that's when they say a line is crossed, that's typically the line that they're referring to. And so then we see his helmet falling from the roof, which is just a beautiful shot. I mean, can we for a second talk, like, just a beautiful shot, guys, really. And it's weird to see them having a conversation and seeing potentially Wilson Fisk giving Matt Murdock therapy in a way, or just having a conversation. I mean, Wilson Fisk, say what you will about him, he's always been a very well-spoken character, and a character that has a lot of nuance and wisdom to him. And so, you look at that and, despite him being kind of a psychopath in a way, I mean, not really psychopath. He's a very meticulously calculated character, but, he has these kind of, rageful tendencies to him. But he does have a lot of wisdom. And then we kind of see a brawl breaking out. Somebody obviously got destroyed. I thought this character for a second was somebody worth mentioning. I'm not exactly sure who this is. If you guys know who it is, let me know in the comments. But you know, this face didn't jog anything in my memory, you know, and so maybe that was just a gang fight or something like that. And then of course, you know, Matt Murdock losing a fight, taking a hit. And listen, say what you will, but there was a lot of speculation, a lot of worry that Marvel was going to tone down Daredevil and it wasn't going to be as brutal as it needed to be. You know, we saw this in Moon Knight. We've seen this in a number of other Marvel series where, you know, characters that really needed to tread that line of being rated R, you know, M for mature, whatever you want to call it. You know, these shows lose quality and they lose kind of this authenticity of certain characters because certain characters just are brutal and they are violent. And you look at Daredevils and the Deadpools and the Moon Knights and so many other characters that I think really do need to push that line for you to see, you know, just how dangerous of a world that they exist in. And I always felt that, you know, watching the trailer for the first time, I felt that the appearance of, you know, the appearance of drops of blood and them kind of honing in and focusing on that, I think was just a subtle nod that like, yeah, we're going to get a little violent here. It's going to get a little violent. There's going to be, you know, viewer discretion is advised, you know, things showing up in every episode. But that's exciting. You know, just a few drops of blood is really all it took to you know, and obviously maybe those drops of blood are just drops of blood, but I think it gives us hope. Then we get our first look at Bullseye. Bullseye was one of my favorite characters back in season 3. Holy moly. The evolution of the character from was it FBI, CIA agent to, you know, Agent Poindexter to, you know, one of the most dangerous vigilantes that I think Matt Murdock has ever faced outside of Wilson Fisk. You know, to see this character come back, it's actually massive. It's actually massive. And not only did we get this character, but we got the appearance of a number of other characters. We got the Rainbow Road crew, or at least that's what I'm calling them. You know, probably just, I don't know, this shot's just a random bank robbery. And then of course, Matt Murdock just happens to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And by wrong place at the wrong time, I mean for them, because this is not going to go well. And the man, and what I love too is them really truly capturing, you know, Charlie Cox's Matt Murdock from the Netflix series, you know, and the man without fear. Look, not even like, look at his face, not even phased, not in the slightest. And I just loved how, I've always loved how cold this character is. You know, we watched that Netflix series. I mean, the man was just not afraid. And obviously that's, you know, spells the essence of Daredevil. But I just, you know, again, it's just moments like that I think just really hooked me into this show. I love the tagline, "The devil's work is never done." And seeing Matt Murdock walk and kind of what looks to be, when we look at the title of the show too, Daredevil Born Again, it's obviously, I always think it's funny because it feels like a play on words. Like when you look at like Christianity, you know, you often hear the term born again Christian, you know, and then you look at, I always thought that was funny because Daredevil he's the devil of Hell's Kitchen, which is obviously a play on religion and stuff like that in a way. You know, the idea that the devil's work is never done, you know, and the idea of Daredevil born again obviously signifies that he is going to step away from the role, which is obviously what we see. He's not a vigilante anymore. He doesn't do that. And obviously, as we go through I believe it's an 18 episode season, we're obviously going to see him transition back into the devils of Hell's Kitchen. I would assume that's probably going to happen within the first couple episodes, and then the real plot of the season is going to form. But it's going to be really fun to kind of see him don the hood again and kind of, you know, or cowl or whatever you want to call it. And obviously we see him stepping down those stairs, still once again talking to Wilson Fisk, and then having a little dance with what I hear is his girlfriend in the show. Now, I was hoping Elektra, the actress who played Elektra, was going to be making an appearance, you know, in this show. And maybe this actress is gonna become Elektra. I have no idea. You know, this is obviously just speculation, but she looks really familiar. I'm not gonna lie, she looks very familiar. And so these two having a beautiful dance together, they're obviously not gonna be playing on the whole Karen and Matt, you know, romantic arc again this time around, possibly. You know, maybe they're all just friends that work together. I'm interested to see how the relationships have changed in the way that Disney and Marvel have written this show in relation to the Netflix series. And then once again, we see new enemies joining the fold. We see, I don't remember this guy's name apparently is Muse. Now, this is one of the first characters that I saw that I I don't know anything about. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. This is your opportunity to educate me on this character. No idea who Muse is, but looks badass. And you know, honestly, when I first saw this trailer, I thought it was Scarecrow. Don't ask me why. No idea. He looks very Scarecrow-esque. And so moving on from there, we get who I believe is Fontaine. It's a very long name. Daylod Fontaine, whatever her name is. She's gonna be in the Thunderbolts. Is this the same actress? Again, if it's not, don't judge me, okay? We're just theory crafting here. We're just speculating. From the look of this image, it looks like her, kind of, sort of, but it could be someone entirely different. I have no idea, you know? Oh, actually, no, that's Vanessa. My bad. That's Vanessa. Okay. What's even more important, this is one of the best shots of the entire trailer as well. You know, seeing him, Vanessa, he's got the ring. Obviously, he was able to find happiness. He was able to secure the love that he wanted with Vanessa. He's obviously got the painting that he loved back in the... Now, I believe this painting is actually that same painting from the Netflix series, and the blood is his blood from when Matt Murdock beats the shit out of him. That's my thought, you know, that's my thought. Because I remember them focusing on that in the Netflix series when he hits him and blood splatters onto the painting from Fisk. And it looks like he kept that painting, which is pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. And then once again, we see the face-to-face moment. One of my favorite moments in the trailer, seeing Jon Bernthal's Punisher make an appearance, and I can't wait. I'm excited about that. This trailer is like this season, from seeing Bullseye to this new character Muse to there's another new character, White Tiger, I think, that we haven't seen yet in this trailer, but is going to be in the show. Daredevil, you know, Punisher. That's a lot of people. I don't know how all these characters are going to play into this series, you know, and how big each of these characters is going to be, you know, but, you know, given the fact that all these characters that we're seeing, at least Punisher and Bullseye, they all had their singular seasons, right? Like Punisher was the main focus of season 2, and Bullseye was one of the main focuses of season 3. And so, and having Fisk in there as well, how are all these characters going to play into this story in a way that doesn't feel crowded? I'm interested to see that. Obviously it's 18 episodes, and so, you know, they really do have time to highlight all these characters, but I'm curious what that script looked like and how big that script must have been for this whole season, and exactly what story they're trying to tell. But yeah, we get our first look at Jon Bernthal as the one and only Punisher, which is really exciting. Him talking to Matt Murdock. He's like, you know, you want to drop the hatchet? Because Punisher's always ready. And yeah, New York Mutual Bank, we've got, again, them talking. Another solid look at Karen Page. I'm really excited. You know, Deborah Ann Wool is going to be in this show. I loved her as Karen. She was a phenomenal actor. Really did such a great job. And I think she provided such an important role in the show. And I don't know if these are the eyes of Poindexter, aka Bullseye. But at least from the short glimpse that we get in this shot, it looks like it could be. And I wonder what Karen is doing there, and whether or not she's a part of this trial. So that's going to be really interesting. But then we move on from there to another figure who is of some importance, whose name I don't know. But I've seen some images floating around, you know, on social media that suggest that he is someone of importance in this series. So I'm curious to know if you guys know. Again, let me know in the comments. Moving on from there, we get some people hung up on hooks, it would appear, which is pretty dark. Matt Murdock being as badass as ever. Let me just say this too. There's nothing better, you know, in the entirety, I would say, of, you know, the Netflix, Daredevil series. Well, some of my favorite moments in that series existed with Matt Murdock just beating the crap out of people as Matt Murdock. Not even with the hood, you know, not even with the gear on. Him just doing what he does as a blind lawyer. It just hits different. In a suit, I mean, you're talking, this is real James Bond, Tom Cruise, Mission Impossible type behavior. Like, and I genuinely love it. Like, he's just such a badass. Then we get our first look at White Tiger. Again, this is another character, as I'm currently dubbing Tony the Tiger, because that's the only tiger I know. He looks pretty cool. Very lucha libre kind of guy. No, he looks like he's about to jump in the ring, and, you know, he's a wrestler or something. This also kind of looks like what Spider-Man wore when he first went into the ring, after he got his powers to try to get some money. Again, I'm making jokes, but obviously I don't know who this character is. I really don't. But, you know, I'm excited to learn. This is the opportunity. This is what's great about this show, and really any show that introduces new characters, is that there are always an opportunity for us to learn about these characters. And maybe, you know, there's characters that once upon a time I didn't know anything about, and there's some of my favorite characters now, you know, some of my favorite characters within Marvel or DC lore. And so, yeah, I'm excited about it. Then, of course, we get some bad guys doing some bad things. We get obviously more blood. We get Matt Murdock talking to Daredevil. We get a dude getting his leg absolutely snapped. Not exactly sure what that's about. Oh, this is obviously Matt Murdock. I believe this is Matt Murdock putting on a hood. You know, he had to disguise himself somehow, but he does have the sticks. He's got the same suit on. So I'm assuming, yeah, he's, and then this shot, man, holy moly. Wilson Fisk taking on the entire city, taking on Hell's Kitchen, obviously on a mission to potentially quote unquote heal the city. But, we all know how that's gonna go. And so, yeah, it's gonna be interesting. We get our look at, I believe that was Muse again. We get some menacing looks. One of the best shots in the entire series. There was a lot of questions and debates as to what suit Matt Murdock was going to don in this series. I believe the one in the middle is the cowl that he wore in She-Hulk. And then obviously we have some different variants, I would assume across comic book lore. That we get one, I believe one of those is the Netflix one, and then a couple of others as well. The gray one might even be, is the gray one from Ben Affleck's Daredevil? I don't know. There's got to be some deep lore in here, potentially some Easter egg in this moment for massive diehard Daredevil fans. You know, I'm just someone that's a fan, and I don't know too much about far back into the lore, but it seems like there could be something here. So, you know, I was able to pick up some of the nods, but, you know, really interesting stuff. And then obviously it looks like he puts on the OG hood. You know, this is the hood from what I believe to be the Netflix series. And I think there were some people who were worried that he was going to put on the yellow and the gold and crimson hood, like he was trying to play for Washington or something. And, you know, I think there was a lot of people that were worried about that. It seems like for the most part, he's going to go back to the OG hood from the Netflix series, which would be really nice. I did really love that look. In fact, I know this is a hot take, but one of my favorite looks in all of Daredevil is when he just has the long sleeve black Henley and the ninja like face mask on. That's one of my favorite looks. I'm sorry. I know some people may not agree. They want him in his comic book accurate suit, and obviously it looks like he'll put that on for the most part. But I always loved that old suit. I really did. It was tough. Dude was just out there boxing. Matt Murdock being mad as ever. The devil of Hell's Kitchen in full effect. What he does to this dude's arm though is wild. Homie's arm is the other way. And from the looks of it, he breaks his arm the other way so that his radius and ulna, or the bones in your forearm, are protruding outside of where his elbow is. And that, as you can imagine, is probably quite painful. So this is what happens when you mess with Matt Murdock, aka the devil of Hell's Kitchen. More fighting, more epic moments, and then the epic scream. And once again, a shot highlighting the duality between the two halves of the same coin in a way. Daredevil and Matt Murdock. And I love it. One of my favorite moments in Daredevil is in the final episode of the Netflix series. We see Matt Murdock have this sort of like purely carnal rage moment when he's about to kill Wilson Fisk, and he decides not to. And it almost takes everything in him not to go down that road. And to see kind of that come back here, the character that is deeply struggled and deeply troubled, is really, it's so exciting. I feel like it's going to be such a raw, emotional show. I cannot wait to spend 18 weeks talking about this. Genuinely, I'm so excited. And there you have it, guys. That is my breakdown. That is everything that I was able to glean from this trailer in its entirety for the most part. If there was something that I missed, you already know what to do. Drop a like, comment down below something that stood out to you. If there's a character that maybe you knew about, obviously, again, I don't know too much about Muse, don't know too much about White Tiger. Excited to learn about these characters the same way I learned about Bullseye way back when. And yeah, I'm just pumped, man. I really am. Like, we've waited a long time for Daredevil to come back. It took a lot of, like, this is more than just a trailer. This is a moment of pure, this is a moment that highlights exactly what happens when people join together. They join forces for something. when Daredevil was getting canceled amongst the myriad of other Netflix Marvel series, you know, before the birth of Disney Plus, which we knew it had to have been something related to like Disney forming its own streaming service, but it hadn't been announced just yet. And, you know, when that was happening, there was a lot of people, myself included, who genuinely rallied to try to just keep talking about Daredevil, keep talking about how much that show meant and what a powerhouse of a show it was. Incredible writing across the board. The acting was phenomenal. I fell in love with all those characters, and that turned into, you know, Matt Murdock having an appearance in the Spider-Man films. It turned into other stuff that would happen from there. It turned into it getting announced that this show was going to be coming on its own, in its own way. And then a year later, maybe even 2 years later, it's been so long, we get this trailer right before the show drops. And this has been a long time coming for a lot of people, you know, people who genuinely believed in this project and believed in these characters and Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock. You know, and to see all of those things coming back, it truly shows that Marvel was listening to the fans and they knew what was working and what would be good. And I just can't wait to see the spin that they put on this show. I really genuinely am so excited. And so, yeah, that's my breakdown, guys. That's my breakdown. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I thank you. If you made it this far, thank you so much. If you guys want to see my full reaction, I will post it at the end of this video. You know, so if you guys want to check that out, I highly encourage it. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. If you do enjoy the content though, dropping a like is a great free way to help out the channel. Subscribe if you're new here, all that good YouTube stuff. And of course, as always, guys, I really appreciate it. Cannot wait to share this show with you guys and my reactions to every single episode. So if you want to be on the lookout for that, if you want to know when those episodes drop and when my reactions drop to them, you already know what to do. Hit that bell icon, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff. As always, guys, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.